This is Miss Lynn, and welcome to It's Elementary with Calvert Library. Today, we're going to be reading a book called Wind Flyers. This book was written by Angela Johnson and illustrated by Loren Long. I want to give a big thank you to the book's publishers, Simon Schuster Books for Young Readers, for allowing us to share it with you today. So today, we're going to do a really fun experiment after we make our own wind flyers. But first, let's read our story. Great uncle was a wind flyer, a smooth wind flyer, a Tuskegee wind flyer. His whole life, all he ever wanted to do was fly. With his arms flapping, he jumped off a chicken coop when he was 5. That doesn't sound like a very smart idea. Definitely don't do that at home. Then jumped off a barn into soft hay when he was 7. Uncle says it's because he watched some birds fly that day. That might not be a great idea either. This book's going to get some good ideas, don't worry. When he was 11, he paid 75 cents to go up in a flying barnstormer. It's what heaven must be, Uncle says to me, with clouds like soft blankets saying, "Come on in, get warm, stay a while, and be a wind flyer too." They flew over the fields, over the lakes, and Uncle just knew if he could get a good grip, those clouds would be his. He cried when they landed because then he knew what it was like to go into the wind, against the wind, beyond the wind. There was magic in the wind back then, he says. When he was older, Uncle became a Tuskegee Airman with the 332nd. He studied hard and flew in a war. Air Force didn't want us at first, only 4 squadrons like us, he says, touching his mahogany face. And when his plane left the red Alabama dirt and flew in the air, he hoped he would never come down. He had finally become a wind flyer, a smooth wind flyer, a Tuskegee wind flyer, flying high above it all, never to touch the earth again, forever a wind flyer. When I asked him if it was a big war, Uncle says, "They all are, but that's over now." We were something. Some of us didn't come back, but we never lost a plane we protected. Then Uncle points at a picture of him and the wind flyers, those smooth wind flyers, those Tuskegee wind flyers. Young and brave, brave and young all. Uncle crop dusted some right after the war. That's the only way he could still fly, the only way he could still catch the clouds and feel the wind. He says flying is different now, though. Faster planes, more people than ever, but Uncle says the clouds still sound the same. He holds my hand, and we watch new wind flyers jet through the clouds. Then, once in a while, he takes me up, and we become the smooth wind flyers, Tuskegee wind flyers, flying into the wind, against the wind, beyond the wind, the magical wind. The end. So now we're going to get ready to do our own experiment with wind flyers. First, we're going to need to make two of our very own wind flyers. The first is that traditional paper airplane, and then the second will be a more unique wind flyer. But first, let's learn a little bit about what's going to make our wind flyers fly. So I have my little airplane here, and then there are four forces at play: lift, drag, weight, and thrust. And you can see these arrows. It kind of is the direction wind and things are going to affect it. So our first one is thrust. Thrust is the force that moves an aircraft in the direction of motion. It's created with a propeller, a jet engine, or even a rocket. Air is pulled in and then pushed out in the opposite direction. An example of this in your house is a fan, a propeller fan that cools you off in the summer when you're hot. All right, so drag is the force that acts in the opposite direction of motion. It tends to slow an object down. Drag is caused by friction and the differences in air pressure. An example is putting your hand out of a car window when you're going, but you probably should not do that without the direct supervision of a grown-up. All right, so weight or gravity is that force that pulls down on the object. It can be called weight or gravity. So our last one is lift. It's the one that's opposite of weight or gravity. It's lift, and its lift is the force that holds an airplane up in the air. So the wings have a tendency to create most of the lift used by airplanes. So the way these four forces act on an airplane makes that plane do different things. Each force also has that opposite force. You can kind of see it's like a plus sign. All right, so lift up here works against weight. When those forces are balanced, a plane flies in a level direction. The plane goes up if the forces of lift and thrust are more than our weight or gravity and drag. If gravity and drag are bigger than lift and thrust, then our plane goes down or it lands. So just as drag holds something back as a response to wind flow, lift pushes something up. The air pressure is usually higher on the bottom side of the wing, and that's what pushes it up. All right, so that was our basic science. Now, let's make our wind flyers. So that first one, remember, is that traditional airplane. You can make an airplane however you know how to make a paper airplane. Just in case you don't know, I'm going to give you an example. So I have a nice blue piece of construction paper. I like a heavier paper, but you can use a lighter one. First, you want to give it a nice fold right down the side and give it a nice crease. Then we're going to fold in our two corners. All right. Next, we're going to fold it down. Remember those nice creases. And we're going to fold each of our wings in. Does everybody have that? Now here's the tricky part. We're going to fold this little point up, and it might catch a little bit of your wing part there. That's okay. All right, next we're going to fold it in half again. Give it that nice crease. You should already have a crease there. And now we're going to fold our wings one at a time. Just flip it down and give it a good fold. And then that other one, flip down, give it a fold. But remember, you can make a paper airplane however is easiest for you. I just like this one because it's simple and it flies really good. All right, now for our harder one to make, or maybe easier for you, this one. We're going to need our scissors, our tape, our construction paper, and a straw. Now the straw can be a paper straw, a cardboard straw, or like this one is a plastic straw that I got last time my family got takeout food. And if it has a wrapper, be sure you recycle it. That's always a good idea. So I have my straw, and I'm going to need a little bit of construction paper. So about an inch thick. You don't have to measure it. You can kind of eyeball it. Maybe an inch and a half. You make a nice little cut. And then you're going to do a second cut about the same width. All right. So now you have two that are the same length, but we want a big one and a small one. So take one of them, fold it in half, and then cut on that half. So now you have two smalls and one large. Set aside one of the smalls. We're not going to use it. Maybe later you could come back to it and make a bookmark out of it. So you have your big one and your small one. Next, you're going to need your tape because we're going to make these rings or loops. So you need a nice piece of tape. Tape it together. And then do the same for your little loop. And then last, you're going to attach it to that straw. We're going to put one on one end and one on the other. So get your tape out and attach it there. All right, so now you should have one that looks like mine. So for our experiment, you're going to need both of your paper airplanes. So here we are at the longest hallway in my house. I've set up a little point system so that we can test and gauge how far each wind flyer goes. My points are 10, 25, 50, and 100, and I just used a little bit of cardboard from my recycle bin to make them. So let's start with our traditional paper airplane. Let's see how far it will fly. Oh, wow! It went pretty far. I bet if it hadn't hit the wall, it would go further. That's where if you and your grown-up do your experiment outside, you might be able to see them go even further. Now, let's try our non-traditional wind flyer, the one with the straw. So hold it so the straw is underneath the loops, and let's see how this one goes. Didn't go as far, but let's try our experiment one more time. Paper airplane first. And it has about the same results. Let's see our wind flyer again. And it went about the same. So you can see that those 4 forces are acting about the same on each one. That's the important thing with this experiment. You want to repeat it over and over again. Well, I hope you had fun today exploring those 4 different forces and how they affect the way airplanes move and travel through the air. Thank you so much for joining us today. Be sure to check back with all of our social media feeds for more programs for the whole family from Calvert Library.